And it bothered me that she didn't have an accent. Like, she's born and raised in Oklahoma, and all of a sudden she has no accent whatsoever, even though she's been in New York for like, what, 5 years? I was like, so she has no accent whatsoever? A little
Maybe it was
weird.
just tough for her to do a Southern accent, and they're like, "This is not a big deal. No one's
I
like."
then get someone that does a Southern accent.
But maybe, who cares?
I care. I care. That's the point, John, of
Maybe
the
just shut
conversation.
up and just no. I'm just- Lacey, it might be happening. I'm not sure, but James Cameron said he might be doing some more Terminator stuff.
After how many avatars, though? I guess we'll get to
12.
that.
Ava 12.
Avatar.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later, but welcome everybody to Nerdy and Nice. Thank you so much for joining us. 15th episode of the show. I'm John. That is Lacey. Damn, I always messed it up. That is Lacey over there. And we are here to talk to you about all the stuff going on that we movie and TV nerds love, whether that's comic book movies, sci-fi. We're going to dip into some Ghostbusters stuff today. We're going to look at some trailers. Ring of Power. I think they spent $3 billion on that show. And it looks like it. It looks great.
It looks very good.
And we're introducing a new segment at the end of the show where we're going to feature you. And that's called the Nerd Word. And we pitched something to you on X and got your answers. And look forward to hearing your takes later. And we're going to be posting to other social media platforms as well moving forward. But first of all, we just want to thank everybody for listening to this show. It's our brand new podcast. Granted, we're 15 episodes in, but we're still evolving it. We're still adding new things. As I just mentioned, a new segment. But make sure you are subscribed to Nerdy and Nice on your preferred podcast app. Apple and Spotify are the big ones. And of course, you can watch us on video. You might be already. Hello. On youtube.com/@TRB podcasts. And spread the word. Tell your friends. If you like how we talk about movies, TV, and pop culture, spread the word and join us because Mondays are for the nerds. And Lacey, we are not doing what you're watching today. So I just wanted to see real quick if you had anything you wanted to toss out there that you've been watching or that you think we should watch.
Are you doing it? Are you throwing this to me because someone complained on Patreon that we talk too much about Glenn Powell?
Why would I do that?
Because I watched Twisters.
Oh, right. Well, we're going to review Twisters. I just figured, I don't know if there's anything else that you have.
I just watched the first episode, about 1.5 episodes of the new season of Emily in Paris is out, season 4. I'm very sad it's only like 5 episodes and it's late in the season. It just sounds like, it seems to me like all the original writers left. I have to look into this. I don't know if that's true, but it just has a different vibe. Like everybody looks different. It's just got a different feel to it that I feel like they're rushing the season. Or it's not the same people. I don't know. It's not checking out to feel the same. It's weird.
It's funny you said that because when I went upstairs before we recorded, Kathleen was watching it too.
I love that show. Oh my gosh. Season 1 and 2 are so good. Season 3 got a little crazy, a little over the top. And then season 4, like, I'm hoping it gets to a good point. Right now, first 2 episodes, I'm kind of like, I didn't need this, you know?
Yep. I have not seen it, so I can't speak to it.
It's a girl that does social media in Paris.
Yeah, I'm not.
So it's like basically if I was super skinny Lily Collins in Paris.
For the fellas listening with me, I assume we're like, nah, we're all set on that. But what they might be interested in, I mean, maybe they'll like it. I don't know.
Matt watched a little bit with me, but he was just making fun of it the whole time. He was like, "This is so stupid."
I have officially started a slow journey back into watching WWE.
You've said this for like 4 weeks now. It's not really a slow journey.
No,
you've been in it.
I dipped my toe in. Now I'm like waist high. So I got past the rough spot. and now I've been watching these two wrestlers. So one is Liv Morgan, female wrestler. She's like this villain. I
Is
think
she the
she's
one that made out the other guy that was all over social media?
probably.
Mullet dude?
Yes, he's Rey Mysterio's son.
Well, they made out and it was, like, all over social media, and I was like, "Is this what wrestling is now? Just, like, making out with
Wrestling
a
has
mullet?"
always been that stuff. The best part about
And
wrestling,
everyone's
honestly,
like,
is
"Oh,
the
no,
soap
they're
opera.
kissing. Oh god."
Yeah.
I was like,
And then there's
"Alright."
this guy who is the son of Rick Steiner from the Steiner brothers. His name's Braun Breaker, and he's like the total package. He's got the mic skills. He's great in the ring. He's fast. He's flipping all over the place. The fans are up behind him. He's cool to watch too. So I think wrestling is starting to get better now that Vince is gone, actually. So
My
we
favorite thing when I worked there was learning how they do the moves. So, like, when you punch, you hit your arm to make the noise, like, you hit your arm, and then when you kick, you actually slap your leg when you kick.
Mhm. The
I
super
used to
kick, the Shawn Michaels super kick.
I used to do that all the time. It
Yeah.
was really funny. I still
We
do
should
it from
do
time to time.
we should do a video in practice. You and I
The
should
the
go.
scariest thing that I learned that they do is with the razor blades, which they stopped doing when they
Hmm.
got rid of blood, which is they'd cut their forehead with a razor blade, like a
I
little
think they bleed
slice.
again now.
Do they?
I
Because
think
they
they're
used
back.
to do it. They'd have it, like, in their
Oh, yeah.
hand, they'd cut their head, and then they'd be like, "Oh god, you hit me," and it's because they'd have
They
'cause
would
I
hide it in the tape in the wrist.
yeah, because what I used to do voiceovers with the Spanish talent, announcers in studio in Stanford, and, one of the guys who used to be a wrestler, and he had scars all on his forehead from
Mhm.
constantly cutting and
Oh,
or, like,
yeah.
on the back of his arm, and I'd be like, "Why would you do that to
Oh,
yourself?"
yeah. Yeah, they would have some guys would keep it in their mouth, wrapped
Oh
in
my
tape.
god.
Some guys would hide it in their wrist, band tape. Hulk Hogan would do that. They some guys would hide one under the ring. They all have different ways of doing it. I think some guys would use
Ugh.
cheese graters on their head.
Mm,
Just absolute lunatics, but especially ECW back in the day. But
mm.
anyway, yeah, for anyone who used to like wrestling, first of all, check out Chris Van Vliet. He used to be a teammate of mine on the Schmodown. He's like the best wrestling podcast.
I
Check
just
him out.
discovered him the other day on Twitter. He follows me, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's pretty cool. I'm gonna follow him back."
Yeah, he does the best wrestling interviews, and check him out. But in general, if you used to like wrestling and you don't anymore, give it another shot because it's coming to Netflix next year, Raw, and I think they're starting to do better things with storytelling and just like how their matches are and the new talent. So give it another look. That's my advice.
One of my favorite things when I did work there was they did this big event with the staff that was kind of like a draft, and it was with Royal Rumble, and what you did is you everybody put in money into the pot, like 10 bucks, 20 bucks, whatever it was, and then you picked a number out of the hat, and then whoever came out in the order that the numbers were, that's who your person was.
I see.
So, like, you were rooting for your person, and whoever won all the money. So, like, if you were number 5 and John Cena came out, you're like, "Oh, I won this." You know what I mean? But it was, like, fun because 'cause you'd be like, "Go, go, go," and then, like
That's cool. Yeah,
yeah, we should do something like that. It was super fun
I'm
because then
down
you're
for that.
rooting for your person, and it
Yeah,
becomes, like, super competitive, and then, obviously, if someone gets knocked out, you're like, "Ah," and then you
I
just
know.
it was really fun. I remember how fun it was.
I always loved the Royal Rumble as a kid. Um, all right. So, yeah, apologies in advance for people who don't like us talking about Glenn Powell, but we watched Twisters,
I was
and
just kidding, by the way. I was poking a little fun.
it's a
It's fine.
it's a big movie, and it's out now, even though it's still like top 5 in the theaters. So I don't know if
Mhm.
this is a play by Amazon or power move by them or whoever. But it's clearly some of these studios or streaming platforms or whoever's making these deals are trying to undercut the distributors of the theaters because the theaters are still making money on this movie, and they're like, nope, now it's going to Amazon and Apple or whatever. But
Mhm.
anyway, we both watched it. Uh, Brief thoughts. We don't have to go into a full review because I'm sure some people haven't seen it yet, so no spoilers. But your thoughts, your review, your rating, maybe 0 to 10 of Twisters.
8.
Just a solid 8.
I think 8, 8.5 right in there. I have issues with it. I don't wanna say what the issue is because I don't wanna spoil it for people, but it's a very
Sure.
obvious issue that everybody else has with the movie that I knew was an issue before I even saw it.
Mhm.
Um, but overall, I really liked the cast. Glenn Powell was very good. He was very good in this movie, like everything else. He has chemistry, like, with a cardboard box. Uh, he's just that good. Like, he just seems like such a lovable guy in whatever he does. Even when he plays the villain in Top Gun: Maverick, like, he ended up being a guy that everybody liked. Um, I thought Daisy was okay. I think someone pointed out on social media that she looks very British, and once they said that, like, I can't unsee it. Like, she does look very British, and it bothered me that she didn't have an accent. Like, she's born and raised in Oklahoma, and all of a sudden she has no accent whatsoever, even though she's been in New York for, like, what, 5 years? I was like, "So she has no
Mm,
accent whatsoever?" A little
maybe it was
weird.
just tough for her to do a Southern accent, and they're like, "This is not a big deal. No one's
I
like."
then get someone that does a Southern accent.
But maybe, who cares?
I care. I care. That's the point, John, of the
Maybe just shut
conversation.
up and just no, I'm just
All right.
uh,
Well, it was super fun. I thought the, disaster scenes were great. They were believable. Some of the deaths were very shocking. No spoilers, but it is a disaster movie, so people are gonna die.
oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, I just had some problems with the accents. Like, the guy
Mm,
Ramos or whatever his name is, like, he was talking like he was from New York and he's from Oklahoma. I was like, "Why are you talking like you're out of the Bronx?"
mm. I liked it. Uh,
It was again, it was great. I enjoyed it. I'm trying not to spoil anything for anybody. It's just the accents threw me off because it's like I wanna believe that these people are like,
you're like, "I
Glenn
like
Powell
this
had a
movie."
slight southern accent. He's from Arkansas. The
Mm,
guy Boone had a southern accent.
mhm.
So anyway, it's super fun. It's enjoyable. I watched it with Matt, and Matt went in it cold. He hadn't seen any trailers, didn't know what the movie was about whatsoever. He just knew Glenn Powell was in it because I kept poking fun about it leading up to us watching it.
Mhm.
And so he started watching it, and I actually recorded on my phone him talking about it, and he goes, "All right, so this girl's into science. What is Glenn Powell like the country boy that rolls up that, all of a sudden wants to hang out with her and they hate each other, but then she's like, "Oh, you don't understand science." And he's like, "I do it for the thrill." And he like went on this whole thing and he just basically said what the whole movie was, and it was absolutely hilarious. And it was within the first 3 minutes of the movie.
Didn't he know he knew, like, the science, but not in a different way, right?
Yeah,
In a
he
sense?
he was like he was the uh heartthrob country boy frat boy, but then still was like had a heart of gold slash nerdy side that he wasn't letting anybody know. Like he played
Yeah.
it off like I'm not a nerd, I'm a cool guy, but
Well,
like deep down he was like I like science.
I thought it was good. I mean, I'd probably give it 7.5 to an 8. The distracting thing for me wasn't the accents. I didn't really pick up on, like, "Oh, that person looks British," or whatever,
I'm
but
sorry, when you're
I
playing music that's like, "Ain't no love like Oklahoma," like the whole movie, but then the girl doesn't have an accent, the main friend Javi doesn't have an accent, it's
I
just
did not
weird to
care
me.
about that at all.
It throws me off. You can't have country music everywhere
What
and then not have accents.
what threw me off is every time I looked at her, I kept seeing Anne Hathaway.
She looks so much like Anne Hathaway.
That kept throwing me off. I was like, "Wait, that's not Anne Hathaway."
They did the Entertainment Weekly, like, digital covers, that they do now where they're, like, standing together and there's, like, a stormy background and it's, like, the camera's spinning.
Mhm.
That cover I thought it was Anne Hathaway. She has
That's
darker
what I mean.
hair. It
Yeah.
yeah,
She normally has dark hair, so they probably gave her blonde hair so she didn't look like Anne Hathaway.
yeah, yeah,
Um, the
yeah.
visual effects were fantastic.
The shots were great too.
Unbelievable.
The direction was great. There was this one beautiful shot where the camera comes around and it's kinda below her and she's looking up to the sky. It's when she's doing that dandelion thing.
Well, not to be yeah.
I didn't give anything away. The
Oh, no.
dandelion thing.
Oh, yeah.
The shot
Yeah.
of her and they're shooting up to the sky, beautiful shot. The way it,
That
like,
was.
frames her
Yeah.
and then he comes into frame. Ugh, such a nice shot.
Yeah, it was yeah, the it was yeah, well directed because I think it was
Lee Isaac Chung
yeah, Lee Isaac Chung and Joseph Kosinski, wrote it.
wrote it. It had
Top
very
Gun
similar Top
Top
Gun
Gun
vibes.
Maverick director, yeah. So he's on a nice run here too, 'cause the movie did pretty well.
It did
And
great.
even
Killed
though it's
it.
getting sniped with streaming and rental right now, it's, still doing a solid job at the theater. I think it's still in the top 5. It was
I
top
wanna
3
see
last
f
I checked, but
I wanna see it in 4DX so bad,
that'd be
and
awesome.
they don't have
Yeah.
anything around here. They re-released it in 4DX because people wanted it so bad, but they don't have them. In the closest one they have near us is, like, Queens, and I'm not going to Queens. But they do
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
rain, they do the wind, the whole thing shakes like you feel like you're in a tornado, like, I want to experience that.
Yeah. I would love to see that, but, ultimately, I enjoyed the movie. Yeah, I thought Glenn Powell was very good. I thought, it was cool that they didn't try to do some sort of, like, I don't think this is a spoiler because they were pretty clear about this. This isn't like, "It's Bill Paxton's son, and he's following it," so, like, that would've been so
No, but they
stupid.
did have call outs like the Dorothy thing with the
Sure,
little
sure.
balls that go
Yeah,
up
the
into the
technology was there,
yeah.
passed down from previous, yeah. But it was a fun movie. It stands on its own in a way, and we'll see if they make another, but I
I think they're
recommend it.
going to.
I think people will have fun with it, but watch it on your biggest TV if you can't get to the theater, crank the sound up. Maybe, get some wind going, open some windows, make your own 4D experience if you need to. We have 4DX at home, Lacey, okay?
Mm, mm.
But, yeah, check it out. Alright, alright. Moving on to our top stories of the day. So Lacey, what's happening?
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
Well, John, this past week was D23. Lots of stuff coming out of D23 from animated movies to Marvel announcements, some Lucasfilm stuff, park stuff, just everything that as a Disney fan you're looking forward to. You got a little bit of everything at D23 over the weekend, including some merchandise too, which was really nice. They had this really cool Star Tours vehicle that played the ride on a
That
screen.
is cool.
They went so fast. From my understanding, in seconds, they were $300 a pop, and they're now up on eBay for like a grand. Good luck getting one. You're not going to find one. But that being said, there's tons of stuff to discuss coming out of D23. What stands out to you, John, from the weekend? Were you more excited for the live action stuff? Were you
Yeah.
excited for the parks? Were you excited for the animation? What stood out to you?
Um, Toy Story 5, Toy Story will always have a special place in my heart. The first one came out when I was like 12, I think.
Mhm.
Um, and now that there's, coming back, and I like the approach they're taking where it's like, my kids watch them. Like, you got tablets now, and maybe sometimes the toys get forgotten. It's a fresh, modern, smart angle. My only hope is that Andy has kids and somehow the toys end up with his kids, which I looked it up because I was like, I could have sworn I tweeted about this a while ago. And then it turns out like a few years ago, Tim Allen was like, I hope we make another one, and I hope Andy has kids and the toys get to go back with the family. And I hope that's what they do, because I don't know how many
He
more
gave them away.
he gave them to Bonnie.
Yeah, I haven't
Bonnie
seen
lives.
the Forky one.
Yeah, so the Forky one is more about the toys. It's not necessarily about the kid. It's about
Mm,
Woody wanting to find Bo Peep, essentially. Um,
mm,
it's really good though. Watch it. It is very good. So I think all the Toy Stories have been very good. And I like the fact that Andrew Stanton is going to be directing this one.
mhm.
So I think it's going to be good, and I'm excited to see what new characters they introduce and still get the old crew back together. And I don't know how many more Toy Stories they're going to make, because they do have Toy Story Land or whatever at Magic Kingdom, I believe, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm going there in 2 months.
No, Hollywood Studios
Oh,
is
Hollywood
the
Studios.
Slinky yeah. You should
Yeah.
go to the barbecue place. The barbecue place in the Toy Story Land, if you are there and Andy's coming, everybody has to freeze in the restaurant.
Oh, I saw a clip of
They'll be
that.
like, "Andy's coming," and they're like
Instead
and
of at the
they're
parks where they made the characters
well, because
drop to the ground.
people used to do that, and now they just say, like, "Andy's not here," because they used to do it so people would do it all the time.
Yeah,
They
too
ruin
much.
the fun.
People
Yeah.
ruin things. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everyone wants to pull the sword. Um, So if they make more Toy Stories, fine. But if this is gonna be the last one for whatever reason, I doubt it. Because if it makes money, which it will, they'll probably make more. But it'd be nice to end the story with Andy being able to give these toys to his kids. And what if like he has a son and he names him Andy and he gets to write Andy on the bottom of Woody's foot again? That'd be pretty cute. And I love bookends, as you know. So, but so Toy Story 5. I mean, Incredibles 3 was a little surprising. Moana 2 we knew was coming. But as far as anything else, I mean, Fantastic Four, that was cool. I was a little chapped that they did a video message and Pedro Pascal was on it, but he didn't do one for The Mandalorian.
Seems very silly, but
I talked about that on TRB, of course. So Star Wars fans, if you didn't catch our last episode of TRB, we talk all about the Star Wars Lucasfilm portion of D23. Avatar's name, what is it? Fire and Ash. So that's coming.
Avatar, keep making them.
Fire and cash, baby.
Yeah.
And what else? Beyond that, not too much else. Oh, this one thing. I'm not the biggest fan of Freaky Friday, but
I'm so hyped about that movie.
I'm not hyped about the movie, but I am like really happy that Lindsay Lohan figured it out and she got out of whatever darkness she was in.
She had
her
a kid.
career was. What do you mean?
She had a baby last year.
Are you saying that because you're saying that's what like
I
helped
think
her?
she got cleaned up from doing drugs and alcohol and all that stuff.
Yeah.
She had a baby and now she's
Right.
more responsible. She's had a baby.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Baby changes you.
I know. I
Mhm.
have a couple of them. But Freakier Friday and Jamie Lee Curtis, I love. I always liked her. So I'm just happy to see Lindsay Lohan. She looks fantastic, by the way. She looks
Oh, she
healthy.
looks so good.
I'm just glad because you look at, I hate to see this. You look at somebody like Amanda Bynes, who's similar age, went through a similar experience, not doing well. The industry and what these like trauma some of these kids go through and stuff, like they don't sometimes make it out. And Lindsay Lohan clearly has, and I'm very happy because I always loved her, even dating back to Mean Girls. I love that movie. Even the first Freaky Friday was cute. Parent Trap, obviously you love. It's good to see that she is back. She's in Disney's good graces again. It just seems right. So I'm glad to see that, even though I'm not like so excited for Freaky Friday or anything.
I'm so pumped for it. They're bringing the whole band back from the first movie. They're bringing back Chad Michael Murray. Manny Jacinto is playing her husband. She's a mom in this one, which I love because she's a mom in real life, and I'm a mom now, so I feel like I've grown with the characters.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm hyped for that.
What about you? Anything else stand out that was revealed, announced?
I'm pumped for Zootopia 2. I liked the first one a lot. And seeing the land they have in China, I'm like so jealous. It's so cool. The park stuff that they have for Zootopia. I'm pumped for Frozen 3. I liked Frozen 1 better. I liked the music of Frozen 2 better.
Was it called Frozen?
No, it's just Frozen 2.
Oh.
They went very simple with it. Frozen 2.
There's no past tense for Frozen. It's just Frozen.
No, and then now this one's Frozen 3, which is not coming out until Thanksgiving, seemingly in 2027. So
who's getting frozen in that one?
I don't know. They really opened up the story in the second one to like this whole kind of mystical world and like other elements and stuff. So I'm interested to see where it's going, but we will see. Other than Lilo and Stitch, they showed the live action Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, which looked very good. I was hesitant when I heard about that. Snow White was weird. I didn't like the Snow White thing. I think, look, Rachel Ziegler is a great singer. She killed Whistle While You Work, but the dwarfs are just so uncanny valley. They look so weird, so awkward. I couldn't get into it. And plus she has this like Lord Farquaad hair from Shrek. It's like the most unattractive haircut they could have put her in. I don't know what
Snow White's hair looked like in the classic.
No, she has like a curly kind of thing, not like a whoop like Lord Farquaad.
I didn't even want to talk about this movie because I'm still so turned off by like her interviews about it earlier.
I don't remember what she said.
it was just like
Mm.
she
I know
doesn't
people weren't
need
happy about it.
she doesn't need the prince. She's a warrior on her own, and Gal Gadot stepped in and she was like, "That's right," you know.
Oh,
Uh,
Gal Gadot. Everyone hates Gal Gadot.
it was something about how it's not 1912 anymore, okay? And it was like, then don't act in a movie that's remaking this classic story. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
so what? Like, you think Bob Iger saw those interviews and he's like, "Oh, that's wonderful.
She wasn't on stage
I'm
for
so
this.
glad she's so woke." You know, it's just like, why would you say so? Like, even if you believe it, do you think that's gonna make people want to go see that movie? Like, come on,
It
read
was
the
a
room. And then
it
the
was a
whole thing
weird
about
choice.
I should be paid for every hour I'm in that costume, and it's just like there's certain way she's very young, and I understand that, but there's certain ways to present your thoughts and your things. It was just very like angry. And
Yeah, well, there's a couple of those stories going around this week, which we'll get to later about
yeah,
actors and
anyway,
their viewpoint, but
for me, it's probably Toy Story, and it's so like out of that group is number one. But I am pumped for you on the Freakier Friday thing because you seem like
yeah.
really. Are they bringing the whole like her whole band back? Like,
Yes, and Chad Michael Murray.
is she in a band still?
Yeah, supposedly.
Oh, don't tell me don't tell me that she's a successful musician.
I think that they're probably just doing a side band. I don't know, they haven't really gotten into it, but they just announced that the band's coming back.
If she's if she's like a Taylor Swift like super rock star, I'm gonna
I
be
don't
like,
think so. I don't think so.
and who's
Uh,
getting Friday? Who's getting freakied?
I think the 2 of them again.
Really?
Yeah, I think they are. They're doing it again. 'Cause
But
they a photo
um,
released the other day of them dressed up in costumes again that, like, looked very much like one was dressed like the other.
that makes sense because like no one else found out about it.
Right.
Okay, all right, I'm in. I'll
Yeah.
check it out. I'll check it out.
Tron, they did show some clips of the trailer for Tron. They announced that Nine Inch Nails is doing the soundtrack for
Oh,
Tron,
wow.
which I'm sorry, you're not gonna top Daft Punk. That album is perfection. That soundtrack, there's nothing I would change. It is
I've never
absolutely the
heard a track of it.
Oh my god, it's so good, John. It's such a good soundtrack. It's my go-to when I need to focus, when I'm not having a good day, I just put it on, and then at the beginning, it has Jeff Bridges being like, "The grid," and he's, like, talking about Tron, you're like, "Oh, this is my
Wait,
jam."
can I guess what it sounds like? Because I've never heard it.
Sure, go.
I'm assuming it is just a lot of fast techno.
It depends. There's one song that is fast, that's, like, the fight scene in the movie, but a lot of it's just like
Like Skrillex type stuff? Boo, boo, wee, yo,
No,
yo,
like
bo, bo,
tones.
bo. Oh,
Dee,
okay.
dun, 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 and then it's like orchestra comes in. It's beautiful. It's
Alright,
wonderful.
alright.
Builds. It's great. There was something I saw over the weekend from Mufasa: The Lion King. They had some talk about that. They released another trailer for it. The director, Barry Jenkins, they had him on a small stage at D23 on like a side stage on the show floor, and there were 10 people sitting there listening to him.
What?
It was so sad. They planned his little talk at the same time they were doing one of these big panels.
Ah.
So the guy was talking to literally a room of 10 people. I felt so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
He'll be alright. He'll survive.
Um, the only other thing that really stood out to me from D23, which was like honestly probably the biggest announcement for me, was that they're doing a Coco ride.
A Coco ride?
They're doing a boat ride for the
Oh,
movie Coco.
yes. Right. Yeah.
Coco
Yeah.
is my favorite Pixar movie of all time. I
Oh,
love Coco, which is funny because I was at D23 years ago when they announced Coco and they had this big musical number of Coco. I got up and left. I was like, "I'm gonna go do something else," and I left. And
why?
because I was just like, "Hey, I'm not really interested in this. I gotta get to this other thing." I was trying to get some,
Mhm.
like, Star Wars merch or something. So, I remember Elliot and I got up and walked out to beat the crowd. I regret leaving. That movie is, like, my favorite movie ever. It's before
Wow.
the movie came out. I feel, like, so bad.
Do you cry when you watch it?
Every time. Ugly cry. I love Coco. That movie caught me so off guard. It's so beautiful. It's so meaningful that, yeah, it's wonderful.
Nice. All right.
Yeah. Anything else for you? Did anything else stick out? They did
No.
a lot of big announcements for the parks. They're getting
Yeah.
rid of Tom Sawyer. They're putting in a Cars Land in Florida.
Right. And there are very legitimate rumors about they might potentially look to replace Muppet Vision 3D.
People are very mad about that.
But how can you do that? Like, and people are like, well, don't believe all the rumors and stuff. But it's like you have all these people who are insiders and experts saying, like, no, you might want to believe that. So, and like people involved with writing the ride, or like if this is the end of the road, like this isn't just a random blog thing happening. There's actual people who are involved with this saying, like, this is bad.
They were
And
gonna announce at
let's
D23, and I guess they kind of, like, pushed it aside for something else, not realizing it was gonna be such a big deal. But man, are they fumbling the Muppets. I have never seen someone drop the drop the bag, so to speak, or, like, really fail at something like Disney has failed the Muppets.
Yeah, and, like, just from like, a symbolic standpoint,
They're
like,
closing the
this
studio, the Muppet Studio. They're closing
you
that too.
I'm trying to get this point
I'm
across,
sorry, I keep thinking of things to, like, how upset I am. Go ahead,
but
sorry.
this is the last thing that, uh, Jim Henson ever made.
Mhm,
Like, the last thing he ever made. Could you imagine? Like, because once it's gone, that's it. They're not
mhm,
gonna bring it back.
mm-mm.
So, they're destroying his last gift. Like, figure like, figure it out. Like, you need to leave something like, It's a Small World is still there. The Carousel of Progress is still there. Figment is still at Epcot. There's some things that you can keep. I don't know like what the traffic is for Muppet Vision 3D, but sometimes you have to lean on the side of legacy.
The
And Jim
President's Hall
Henson,
is still there.
yeah.
Oh
And
my god.
and Jim Henson is like one of 5 people, or if you want to Mount Rushmore it, like the 4 people like who inspired just generations of kids to use their imaginations and yearn. He is a George Lucas level legend, and he's
Mhm.
dead, and his last thing was this. And if they're gonna like be like, well, I guess Inside Out was big, so we're gonna make it Inside Out Zone, and I'm just making that up. I'm not saying that's what they're gonna do. I know the rumors
Mhm.
was it was like Monsters Inc. Land or something, which please, come on, don't
They
compare the
haven't
Muppets to the rest of them.
announced
So
where they're putting the Monsters Inc. coaster.
so
They said
my
that they're
whole
doing a coaster, they haven't said where they're putting it.
my whole thing is if they are thinking about doing it, I would be so upset if that's the
Mm.
case. So
Mhm.
that's me,
Mhm.
and I'm taking my kids there in October, and I'm telling there's no way we're not going to see that show because if they get rid of it, I'm not gonna be able to show that to my kids. So
Are you
um,
doing the, trick or treat stuff?
I'm not sure yet, honestly.
You
I gotta,
should, it's so
yeah,
fun.
we
It's
might,
so fun,
we
and you
might,
get so much candy. Oh my god. Get ready to
mhm,
bring home a ton of candy. It's
might
insane.
do it. We'll see. All right.
Yeah, so moving on, kind of tied to D23 is they did announce the next Avatar film, and in that came out of that was a lot of conversations with James Cameron talking about what's coming next. I know that Matt loves James Cameron. His favorite movie, if not one of his favorite movies, is True Lies
Oh,
with
nice. Okay.
Arnold
Yep.
and Terminator with Arnold. And
Mhm.
one of the biggest things is he's very upset that James Cameron has been stuck making Avatar movies for
Me too.
like 20 years. That he's like
100%.
the one of the greatest filmmakers of our time. He's like, and he's stuck in Avatar. So I'm not surprised this made it to the show tonight because I know you like this too, John. What are your thoughts on what he said that maybe he could be doing more Terminator? And he said things like, quote, "Damn right, I'm overbearing."
Yes. So, well, James Cameron is kind of a jerk, but
He makes me
he
laugh.
but he's very honest, and he you like he's so good at what he does, and he's so honest about it that it's almost like, all right, man, like you're good. Like, so
Mhm.
when people asked him about did he see that new animated Terminator thing that was being done, he said he found that interesting. He liked what other people have done with the idea of Terminator, including the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Mhm.
But he's like, but that's not my story. It's sort of like when George Lucas would talk about the expanded universe. He's like, oh yeah, I like that they're telling these stories, but it's not a part of my story. And so then he said, I'm working on my own. This is the quote. I'm working on my
Mhm.
own Terminator stuff right now. It's got nothing to do with the other stuff that was made since his movies. I put that in uh, paraphrasing because he sort of touched around it. But he said, it's totally classified. I don't want to have to send out a potentially dangerous robotic agent if you were to talk about it, even retroactively. That's the most like James Cameron response ever.
So
Now,
nerdy.
if he's saying I'm working on my own Terminator stuff right now, I gotta imagine it's a movie, right?
Mhm.
So
I would assume so, but at the same time, he's so stuck in Avatar, so you have to question, like, when is he actually gonna make that movie?
he did say there's always the potential, like he wants to direct all the avatars, but he's like, there's a potential, like even after I'm dead, they're gonna make more avatars and stuff like that.
Mm.
And he's very like glib about that. It's funny, but if he made like one more Terminator movie, knowing how he is essentially now the pioneer of visual effects, he can definitely bring Arnold back and have him look like a Terminator again, and make it the true trilogy because
So,
Terminator.
write off everything else again?
Yes, of course. He didn't make Terminator 3. He didn't make Terminator Genesis. He didn't make Dark Fate. He didn't make the one with Salvation, the one with Christian Bale that takes
Mhm.
place in the future.
Mhm.
Uh and they all had like a couple of moments that were decent, but they weren't good. And
Mhm.
he needs to go back and retcon and take something after T2, make his T3 and complete his trilogy. And if that involves bringing back Eddie Furlong, who seems to be doing better as well, I like this theme of this episode where we're talking about these stars that may have fallen that are getting their lives back together again.
Mhm.
Or Linda Hamilton. I don't know what their goal is, but if he's making a third Terminator, that is going to be a monster movie because
Mhm.
T2 is one of the greatest sequels of all time. And if you could take that momentum and have him finally like end the story properly, I'm very excited at the possibility of that. Now, if he comes out and he's like, "We're actually making a 3, 4D, 5D immersive experience," I'm gonna be like, "Ah, no!" only because I'm sitting here hoping it's that third Terminator movie. The same way Matt is probably hoping it's one more James Cameron Terminator movie. So my fingers are crossed that it
Or a
is.
True Lies sequel is what Matt wants.
Or yeah, True Lies sequel would be cool. I know they were kicking that around for a long time too.
Mhm.
But Tom Arnold's kind of he's getting kind of weird these days.
You don't
And he
need
was,
him in it.
I guess, he was sort of like the buddy
You could find
cop.
someone else.
Yeah, I guess so. They're like, Josh Gad, are you available? Because you're in
Oh,
everything,
oh my gosh, yeah.
right?
He is in everything.
But James Cameron's probably like, nah, screw that guy. But if they're making a third Terminator movie, that'd be so awesome. So we'll see what else he says about it. But it doesn't sound that close, so we'll see.
I do, in general, love how James Cameron seems to not care about anything. It's weirdly refreshing, and I know some people take it like, "Oh, he's a jerk." Oh, I don't take it that way. I just take it as someone like, "What are you gonna do? Say no to me? No, you're not. So it is what it is. I've proven that I can make you tons of money, like buckets of money.
Hmm.
So what are you gonna say?" Because he said that like he pitched Avatar, I think 3, 4, 5, and the studio was like, "We're gonna make changes," and he was like, "No, you're not." And they're
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
"Okay, we're not."
he's
And so they
beyond the
didn't.
point.
He said they
Yeah.
didn't make any changes. He got exactly what he wanted, which makes me laugh. But part of this, article, they do talk about how, a potential project for him is Fantastic Voyage. We learned a lot in the past year about how immersed James Cameron is in the kind of like sea exploration or ocean exploration community. When that submersible went missing, they had him on all the channels where he was
Right.
like, those
Yeah.
people are already dead. I heard 3 days ago that they're dead. All the people that I talked to in the community, I've been on all these chats. I was friends with one of the guys in it. He's just in that community and he's done ocean exploration on his own. But the point I'm saying is that they're talking about could he do the Fantastic Voyage movie, and how someone, Roland Emmerich, is saying that that he pulled out of the movie and that he's overbearing is what he called James Cameron, which brings
He
it
is.
back to the first thing.
Yeah.
And he just goes, "Yes, I'm overbearing. Damn right. When it's a project where I've contributed the writing, I might actually have an opinion on it. I actually don't even remember talking to him." I remember the other directors that we worked with for months on end trying to develop the project. If I talked to him, it was for 2 minutes, and I have a pretty good memory, and I don't remember that at all. Move on, it's a non-story. Imagine having James Cameron say that about you. Like, that's when you
I
just
would
go,
love
like,
it.
disappear for a little bit.
I don't know.
Like,
I would like that because it's almost like getting a grumpy response from Harrison Ford at this point. You're like,
I
I
don't think
did it.
so. No, I don't think so because he literally said, "If I talk to this guy, it was for 2 minutes, and I have a pretty good memory, and I don't remember it at all. Like, you had no impact on my life. I don't remember you."
Do you know who is also a very efficient filmmaker?
No, who?
James Gunn.
Oh, you wanna move on from this story?
I think we have to.
Okay. Jeez.
Well, for the
You
sake of
you
time, we
you
have
spoke the entire time about James Cameron, the 2 minutes that I spent talking about what I liked about the article, and now we're already moving on. Alright,
wait a minute.
moving on.
Wait a minute.
James
Wait a
Nope,
minute. Wait a
nope,
minute.
we're moving on. James
No,
Gunn.
wait. Wait. We are on story 2 of 5. And we have
So,
trailers and we got the nerd word and you're going to probably talk a lot on that last story, so you know what I'm
I
saying?
actually probably won't, but I'd like to talk a little bit on every
So do
story,
you have
but
more on James Cameron then? I
no,
thought you were
I'm
going to
good
put a
now.
bow on it. You were
So,
talking about
reshoots
Voyage of the Mimi and stuff
reshoots
and
is what you wrote here. James Gunn explains how he rarely does reshoots for his movies, including Superman. And so his quote includes 1, over prepare, 2, don't start shooting until I have a finished script my whole team is happy with, which is a very important thing, by the way. That's my note, not his note. 3, hire actors and department heads I know can do their jobs. 4, surround myself with people who can challenge me and not just yes, sir, everything. 5, ask myself daily, are there any small imperfections in the script or what we're shooting that might end up feeling like huge imperfections when we cut the film together? 6, 1 and 2 again. Um, I love this quote. I think this is so transparent and honest and genuine, which is basically all the words that describe James Gunn. He just seems like a really, really straightforward, creative, genuine guy. Like he's telling you his process and he's saying, if you don't have these things, don't bother making the movie because it's not going to be good. And I can't even tell our listeners how many times we've talked about movies, Star Wars or not, where they don't end up being good because they ignore many of these steps. And the people that we've seen succeed in this industry, like when we talk about on TRB, Jon Favreau, is because he also does all of these things. He finds the people that can do the job right. He thinks about the story. He doesn't, cheap on what the heart of the story is, what you're trying to portray, and then you work from there. And then you're not afraid to say, "Hey, this isn't working. Let's try some other things," which I think James Gunn is also saying here. But yes, surround yourself with people that will challenge you and not yes sir you all day. That is so important. There's nothing I hate more than being on a team with people that are just like, yeah, sure, whatever. You're like, come on, give me some feedback here. Like, let's make this. Then you don't feel like you're actually being valued. You're just being yesed to death.
yeah.
So what are your thoughts, John?
I mean, I am so excited about that Superman movie and like James Gunn is also like James Cameron very candid. Like you and I have seen many times online, he will slap down BS rumors. He will
Mhm.
clarify things a lot.
Mhm.
He recently just clarified which projects are actually in the motion
Mhm.
which is important because we see how like all these false reports can make fans assume things that aren't true, especially on the Star Wars side of things. So I just like his approach to everything. His
Yeah.
the Guardians movies are some of my favorite Marvel movies. He seems to be like a J.J. Abrams type who his cast always loves him type of thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, I don't have much else on this other than to say I feel confident about Superman. I feel very confident about DC. I think they have the perfect person in place to tell a long interweaved story about the Justice League, about Superman, about everything involved with DC. So
Mhm.
we're just getting started. I'm just very happy to hear everything that I'm hearing out of the camp from James Gunn and DC. And the fact that he's running it, he's like the CEO of it. He's not going to have, like you were talking about James Cameron, no one's pushing him around. No one's going to tell James Cameron what to do. Uh, James Gunn is the boss. So
Yeah. No
who
one's gonna
better?
tell him no.
Who
Yeah.
better? Right. So I'm happy about it. Happy about
Yeah, I love that. Um, all right. Continuing on, something I'm assuming you're also excited about. Netflix orders Ghostbusters animated series with Elliot Callan as writer. So Elliot previous work was the head writer for The Daily Show and head writer for the Mystery Science Theater 3K revival at Netflix. I am not the person for this, so I'm gonna
it. No.
throw it to you.
Well, I grew up on Ghostbusters, especially my intro to Ghostbusters was the real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Right.
And I absolutely loved it, and then I watched the movie after. My dad, I think he brought it home from, like, the library or something,
Oh, the
and
library.
yeah, yeah, on VHS, um,
Mhm.
so then when they brought Ghostbusters back recently with Jason Reitman,
Mhm.
and we'll probably talk about him in a little bit, but, I liked Afterlife, I didn't like Frozen Empire, as I've said on this show,
I haven't seen
but
that one yet.
you haven't? I'm curious to
No.
see yeah, I'm curious what you would think of it. Are you gonna watch it?
Yeah, probably eventually. I did like Afterlife.
Does Matt like Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, has he been watching any of the new ones?
He watched Afterlife with me.
Yeah,
He said it was okay. He didn't like it that much.
and you like the old ones, right? You like 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you're a Bill Murray fan, so
Mhm. Mhm.
but I don't know exactly what they're doing with this because it's been pretty, um, not secretive, but they haven't said too much. But the fact that Netflix is doing a new animated Ghostbusters series is kind of cool. I just wonder if it's going to be, involve the OG characters or if it's going to be this sort of like a whole new thing. So I got to find out more on what it is. But I have Netflix, so I'm obviously going to check it out at least.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm excited to see what you think. Um our last story from this past week is probably one that everybody's been hearing about because it is the one story that every single person seemingly is talking about. And I made this joke off air that has made it into the notes, which is Blake Lively quiet quitting being likable? So for those of you that don't know, let me run it down really quick. She's in a new movie coming out called It Ends With Us. It's a adaptation of the Colleen Hoover book, It Ends With Us. It's a very, very, very popular novel in a series that focuses on a very complicated relationship between two characters that result in domestic violence. It brings that to light. It talks about the challenges with it. And it's a very, very popular series. Um, so it's been an interesting week because Blake Lively has kind of been treating the premieres and the press tour surrounding It Ends With Us not how someone should probably be treating a movie about domestic violence. It's
Right.
very much promoting her hair products. It's treating it like Barbie 2. She's bringing Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman to the premiere like it's like Deadpool and Wolverine part 2. It's weird vibes, and she's been given interviews that are really, I don't know, flaky / mean girl. Something's not right here. And
Tone deaf.
yes, and the weird thing is that it was written and directed by Justin Baldoni, who also stars in it with Blake Lively, and both of them are not talking. They're not on the red carpet together. They're not doing press tours together. They're not doing anything together, and it all kicked off with everybody in the cast and involved with the movie unfollowed this guy from social media. So the question becomes like, what is going on? This is such a weird thing to do because even if there's usually drama behind the scenes in movies and TV and whatnot, people kind of keep it to themselves and they play along. Something so bad happened that nobody's playing along and no one's talking about this guy. People are like, I believe Jenny Slate was interviewed about him, asking like how it was working with him, that someone that acted and directed. And she like talked mental, like verbal gymnastics, talked around speaking about him. But it is just really weird. And then now rumors are coming out that Blake Lively thought this was going to be her opportunity to win an Oscar, and her and Ryan Reynolds took over creative control. And
I don't like that.
She kind of worked her way into being BFFs with Colleen Hoover, who is the author of the book, and took over like writing certain scenes. Like there's this rooftop scene between the two characters that supposedly Ryan Reynolds wrote for her. And that there were ultimately 2 different cuts of the movie. One of the cuts of the movie being that it was edited by the guy that edited, or the person that edited Deadpool and Wolverine. So she went kind of behind Justin Baldoni's back and edited this movie and recut the movie and took over the movie. So then you see interviews with him where they go, "Oh, are you going to direct the next one?" Because again, this is a series. And he said, "No, I hear Blake wants to be a director. She'd be good at that." Like to me, that's like, oh my goodness, this is such a mess. It is very surprising that something like this happens, but it is the big story of the week that everyone is talking about. So John, what are your thoughts?
Well, I want your thoughts on it because you seem to be more aware of this story and stuff. I didn't even know it's a series or anything. I'm like, I am completely naive to this story. The only thing I can offer is looking at the evidence presented. I don't want to speculate on, well, she's probably doing this because he's doing that. I'm not saying you're doing that, but like, I just don't want to do that.
He did hire the PR team that worked with Johnny Depp. That's another thing people are kind of upset about.
I think it's also the PR team that worked with the woman who filmed the George Floyd video. Like, it's just because they work with Johnny Depp doesn't mean anything.
I'm just saying, like, when people hear the name Johnny Depp, they immediately assume like the worst. You immediately get people divided.
Yeah, but also Amber Heard was horrible. So it's like,
I'm just saying you automatically have people that are one side or the other.
Sure.
So then you automatically have people now switch those opinions onto him and onto Blake Lively. Look, at the end of the day, it's their business. It's just very surprising how they're handling the press.
It's dangerous. It feels dangerous to like, because I saw people like on, I don't know if it's Twitter or wherever, but like saying like, he must have done something. He must be guilty. And it's like, why? Because you like Gossip Girl or something? Like, I've seen like Jake Hamilton, who we know, we've met, really nice guy. He interviewed her for this and he asked her a very serious question. And she's sitting on the couch as though like she's hanging with her girlfriends. Her feet are up. She's turned to the side. She's flipping her hair. She looks like she couldn't be less interested.
She made jokes. So the question was, if you had people that were victims of domestic violence come to you, what would you say to them? Which honestly, it's a very serious question. It's a great question.
Yes.
It's literally an alley-oop to resources. Like, hey, go to this website. I'm not the professional. Go to this hotline. Go to this website.
Right.
Get the help you need. She totally slapped that down to the ground and was like, "Oh, do you want my social security number? Oh, do you want my address? Do you want all these things?" It was the weirdest way you could have handled that question. And I know why Jake asked it. He asked it to get the call out of where to go to get help.
Right.
That's why he asked the question, which if you flip it around, Justin Baldoni has only been talking about resources. Anytime he does it, he's like, I've been focused on domestic violence. When I made this video or this movie, I worked with people that are from these organizations to raise awareness and to get the female point of view in this situation because I can't come from that point of view. Um, Again, I don't know what the truth is. I don't think we'll ever know what the truth is, but it is weird that all these stories are coming out and supposedly Blake's team's putting out press and his team's putting out press, and she claims that he made her uncomfortable on set, and he's saying, "I didn't make you uncomfortable. I have a back issue and I have to lift you up," and asked her trainer um how much she weighed about so that he could train his back to protect himself from injury when having to lift her up. And I guess that made her uncomfortable. And then she's saying, "Well, he lingered too much when kissing me, and yet it's a romantic movie, so I'm not sure." It gets a little dicey. It's just messy. It is a messy, messy thing.
I'm reading
Perpetrated
some.
by TikTok.
Yeah. I'm seeing something now from People magazine, which I think is still reputable. I mean, it's People.
Yeah.
That, and this report came out 6 hours ago, that Blake Lively screened her cut of the movie for fans at a festival in like Texas or something
Oh my
2 months ago.
So the way that they did it is that you don't know which version you're seeing. Are you seeing his version or her version? And rumor has it that if people like it, it's going to be her version. If people don't like it, they're going to say it's his version.
But can I ask, like, because there's other interviews going around of Blake Lively showing similar behavior,
Yes.
being disrespectful to interviewers. There's one with her and Parker Posey where,
Yeah, talking about the bump.
yeah, and she's like, the interviewer's sitting there waiting to be able to ask the next question, and they're both, Parker Posey too. They're deliberately ignoring her, and I was like so upset and like offended on behalf of the interviewer, who I don't even know who she is. And it's like,
It kicked off because Blake had announced she was pregnant at the time. And so she said, "Congratulations on your little bump," as in congratulations on your
right,
pregnancy. And Blake turned to her and goes, "Congratulations on your bump," which basically she just called the reporter fat.
yeah,
It was
I
very
don't.
weird. It was
So
very
so
weird.
so common denominators and patterns are important. My question is, has Justin Baldoni ever had this reputation before? And I
I
I
don't
don't
think he
know.
has. I don't think he
So
has.
if the patterns are there for Blake Lively to be so tone deaf on these things, and she's undercutting the director by going to her husband's editor to make her own cut and to screen it before his version comes out, it sounds vindictive to me. I don't know all the facts, but if you're looking at patterns, if one person has been known to be a certain way and the other person hasn't, I would lean towards it being the person who is showcased that pattern is the one at fault. But I don't want to, I'm not here to pick sides or anything, because I liked Blake Lively. Like, I didn't know necessarily, like,
I was hyped for her to be Lady Deadpool, but the big story behind this is that her and Ryan Reynolds tried and paid to take creative control of this movie.
I it makes me feel. I know you like to. Yesterday we joked about you saying the word "ick," and it's like that
The
is a good like explanation, I guess. Of I like Ryan Reynolds a lot. I always did since Van Wilder. I've been a fan of this dude for a long time. And I love Wolverine, or Deadpool and Wolverine. Hugh Jackman's his best friend, and Hugh Jackman, everyone says, is the nicest guy in the world. So if Ryan Reynolds is his best friend, I have to believe Ryan Reynolds is a good dude, or else why would Hugh Jackman roll with him? And
Mm.
then on the flip side, it's like Blake Lively, I was a fan of. My wife and I saw Age of Adeline in the theater, and that was one of her favorite movies. So we liked her for a while. And
Mhm.
so then when I hear that there's almost, it feels like they're so image conscious, where it almost feels Stepford in a way, where everything has to be perfect. That like freaks me out a little. And it's like,
So
who's the real like
I
person?
I will give a little bit of so two things. One, Blake and Ryan got married on a plantation, which people are very mad about because they said that's kind of inappropriate to get married on a plantation where slaves were once forced to live. But two, from personal experience, I used to work with this woman at a marketing agency here in Connecticut, and right next to Connecticut is New York. We're bordered to each other for people that don't know. And Ryan and Blake live in the town directly past Connecticut on the border. And they were at a restaurant, and my coworker was there, and
Nice. Exclusive.
they they were sitting in the restaurant, and I guess some guy had his phone out, and Ryan made a scene of it. He was like, "Put your phone away. Don't take pictures of me and my wife doing blah blah blah." And the guy wasn't even taking pictures of them. He just had his phone out and was like reading his emails or something. And she witnessed them doing it and was like, he was like very, very like protective and crazy. And everyone in the restaurant was like, and then like he just left. Yeah.
So your friend witnessed this,
She was in the restaurant, yeah.
and your friend is a truthful person.
An older woman. Yes.
Okay.
A mom.
Well, old women lie too. The lady, remember the old lady in Titanic? She lied.
This woman didn't lie because she's very down to earth, friendly,
No, I'm just
so
kidding.
sweet. Like, yeah, she's not someone that's making stuff up.
This
And
is
she
upsetting.
said she was upset because she liked them. And when she witnessed this, she was like, "Oh, I don't like this."
And is it possible Ryan Reynolds had just like the crappiest day ever?
Possible.
Maybe.
Possible.
So it's hard to say, but more is going to come out about this. We know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So
Because they're both
I'm-
fighting now. They're both using their PR teams to put stuff out into the internet.
but all these people that keep bringing up all these older Blake Lively interviews where she's just like really rude and dismissive and flippant, and it
I don't like
put
that.
a
I
bad
just
taste
like
in my mouth.
Yeah, just like I don't like press people wasting talent's time, I
Right.
don't like talent wasting journalists' time,
Well, that's the
because
thing.
these
Like,
people are not paid that much to be sitting there interviewing you,
right.
and they probably had to travel there. It's been a long day. They've been sitting there just like you have. Like, I just think people need to respect one another regardless of what roles they're in. And every clip, like you said, that I've seen has been like, oh, this poor person. This is probably like a big exciting moment that they're interviewing this person, and they're just, not going great.
Yeah, who knows what the truth is, but if the snowball rolls faster down the mountain and collects more snow and gets bigger and bigger and people feel more safe to come out about it, because 3 weeks ago, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were king and queen of the world.
Yep.
And now it was, "You're Deadpool, Lady Deadpool. This is so great. They're amazing. They're so beautiful. They're a great couple and stuff. Hugh Jackman's their best friend." And now it's like, wait a minute. Are they not the best people in the world?
It
And
also,
then,
yeah, it's scary that people can tear down other people so quickly on social media.
right. But if more evidence comes out of certain behaviors and people see like, oh, people are turning on them a little. I had this story, but I didn't want to put it out because people would never believe me. And then maybe more stuff comes out.
Mm,
I hope that's not the case because I'm a fan of Ryan Reynolds. I hope he makes Deadpool till he's 70.
mhm.
Blake Lively, I liked until I saw these interviews that now I can tell I probably wouldn't like her very much. So I don't know. It definitely is disappointing. But we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, I mean, all I can think about from things that I viewed, 'cause you think back like, "Oh, did I see any of this behavior before?" Like, when she went to football games with Taylor Swift, she was never waving at cameras or saying hi to fans or doing anything. She was very much keeping to herself, so,
I forgot about that too
yeah,
entirely.
maybe she's just not into it. I think she's trying to do, like, the, strong female persona that Taylor Swift has, where she kinda makes jokes and is kinda awkward, but, like, somehow is down to earth, and people really dig that. I think she's trying to go for that vibe, but it's just not coming across right.
I don't think Taylor Swift is. I think Taylor Swift has made herself a product, and that she knows exactly when the cameras are on her. I That's just my opinion. But anyway.
And that's fine, but if you're talking about the behavior you're seeing, people usually keep people like themselves around them.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But let's continue on.
let's march forward and you want to talk some trailers?
Let's do it.
All right.
Oh God, I love that movie.
Okay, so Lacey, I know you are a Lord of the Rings fan.
I am.
Admittedly maybe need to give it another crack.
It's so
Because
good.
I know, and we've talked about this, but Rings of Power, I don't think either of us have watched, but the Prime series just created monster buzz when the budget for the first season came out, being upwards of $1 billion, a quarter of which went to acquiring the rights for J.R. Tolkien's stories, but like 700 million to produce this show, for like 40 million per episode, and it looks it. I haven't watched these, but watching this trailer, I'm like, this if this is the amount of money it takes to make a show look as good as a movie, holy cow. Star Wars will never look that way, because the amount of money that they put in to this show to make it look that good is astronomical, but it does look great. And you brought up Sauron. This is Sauron appearing now, Christopher Lee's character appearing in this.
Yeah. So it looks
new
like
season?
it's the because I was always curious like what story they were telling, because they're not going by the books at this point. I believe they're just leading up to the books. So this is the prequel to how Sauron got into power and how all these wars broke out, and basically when they talk about in Lord of the Rings, like, oh, it was a dark time and this happened, like this is that dark time.
Yeah. And so this like we knew that this always took place before
Yes.
the trilogy. Okay.
It's where the rings were formed.
Oh,
It's
gotcha.
basically what Rings of Power. It's them making the rings that are then in the Lord of the Rings. Because the Lord of the Ring is the one ring remains, all the others get destroyed, I believe.
Oh,
Or do they
okay.
get destroyed? I can't remember off the top of my head. But the one that Frodo has, that has to be made.
Oh, I thought there was only one ring. So little did I know.
One ring to rule them all.
Right. And now that's
They
why they say rings, Lord of the Rings. So maybe
Right.
by having that
Originally,
last
they
word.
made multiple rings, but
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings,
You
Frodo
know,
has one.
I, call me stupid or whatever, but I never thought about that. I was never like, oh, it's Lord of the Rings, and it's all about this one ring. I never was like, why isn't it called Lord of the Ring? And now you taught me. So thank you.
Well, the thing is Frodo gets it from Bilbo, who takes
Right.
it from Gollum, Andy Serkis's character.
Smeagol.
Mhm.
So what did you think of the trailer? Do you think it looked 750 to $1 billion?
Oh, it looks beautiful. The costumes, the settings, everything. I gotta go back and watch season 1. Again, it's on my list. It's just when Emily in Paris season 4 is out, I'm really making choices.
Oh,
But
boy.
the funny thing is we're talking about the budget for this to get the rights of the book and to do the, the costumes and locations and all the visual effects. Only Murders in the Building has a new trailer, and I think all their budget went to all the cast that's in it.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, you probably have more positive thoughts than me on this.
I don't. I'm gonna be honest. I don't mean to be a negative person, but it just seems like cameo fest.
When I saw that first trailer,
I'm gonna watch it. Let's be honest. I'm gonna
I
watch it
watch it.
because I watched the other seasons and actually I loved season 1 and 2. Season 3, I didn't like it probably halfway through, but then it picked up at the
Yeah.
end for me and it was fine. Meryl Streep was great. This season, it just seems like they're like, "Hey, we're still getting paid, so let's bring all our friends in."
When I saw that first trailer, I was like, "Oh no, they jumped the shark." And they're doing that thing where it's that meta sort of thing where they're like, "Oh, they're gonna make a movie about us in our
Like
show."
Seinfeld.
Yeah, like Seinfeld did, which I'm glad they abandoned that for a while in Seinfeld.
Mhm.
They brought it back in the finale, which was bad anyway. Um, but like Scream did it, and like starting with the second movie, and they kept it going, and I was like, oh my god, they just murdered this franchise. Like, and that's topical for our next segment actually, but I I'm gonna watch it just like you because I love Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. I thought she's been so great on the show, and her chemistry with them is fantastic. So I'll watch it for them. But I'm watching this trailer, and Martin Short is talking to Zach Galifianakis, who's playing him in the movie they're making, and it's Zach Galifianakis playing himself. And I'm just like, this is bad. Like I like them in New York.
Kind of like Matthew Broderick, who's playing himself.
He was?
He played himself in season 3. He was the Matthew Broderick.
Oh, and that's fine though, because
But
Matthew
I'm saying
Broderick
he
lives
played
in New York
himself as himself, an exaggerated version of himself.
Right. But this seems like they're in LA and there's just too much going on.
Yeah.
And I liked when they were in New York in that building. They were like a small little podcast, these little old men, and they were like, one works on Broadway, one's like a washed up actor, and like it was small. It was the fall time. It just had that feel. And now they're in LA in the sun, the palm trees with all these celebrities. It just feels I don't know. I'm gonna give it a shot, like you said. I'm gonna watch it too, but something it just I'm usually a good read for myself on these things and get some bad vibes. But
I'm gonna watch it for the theme song where they're playing on Home Depot buckets.
They play that on Home Depot buckets?
Yeah, the doon doon doon. That's all Home Depot buckets.
Oh, like Blue Man Group?
I guess so.
But Orange Man Group, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything else on Only Murders?
No, but there's something else from New York that we're supposed to talk about.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night.
How do I say this name?
So, Saturday night trailer directed by, oh, by the way, Only Murders comes out August 27th on Hulu, and Rings of Power August 29th on Prime. So for people who want that,
get all the subscriptions.
All of it. Yeah. Saturday Night is a movie based on the beginning of Saturday Night Live, directed by Jason Reitman, who we talked about. Ivan Reitman's son took over Ghostbusters. He also directed Juno, Thank You for Smoking. He directed Ghostbusters Afterlife. He has a really good resume as a director.
I've seen all of those, actually.
Yeah. I didn't see Juno. Thank You for Smoking.
Juno is so really good. You've never... Juno was like the big movie of like...
I don't know why I never saw it, honestly.
Oh you know, God.
I don't like Michael Cera. That's why.
That movie was like the movie the time it came out. Like everyone was doing costumes of that movie. All the jokes were from that movie. It was like super bad. It was everywhere.
All right, I'll watch it. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But I saw Juno in the theater. I saw Thank You for Smoking in the theater. I didn't see Ghostbusters Afterlife in the theater. I saw it on digital.
But yeah, so he's directing this one in theaters October 11th. What'd you think of the trailer? Well, first of all, are you an SNL fan? Or do you know the history of SNL? Do you like the OG stuff? Like, where are you at with that? And what'd you think of the trailer?
I'm gonna be honest. I like SNL when Will Ferrell was on. That's my like heyday.
Okay.
When Will Ferrell, Chris McCann, all those people were on, and then like again when Kristen Wiig joined.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig, that period was really good when they started doing. And Andy Samberg when they started doing like the digital shorts, like that's prime SNL for me. I didn't really get into the older stuff. It's before me. I don't get the humor. I'm gonna be honest. Some of the stuff that like the skits that are always like the great comedy skits of the time. I don't. I'm sorry. I think King Tut is one of them that like my dad loves King Tut, and I'm like, that's not funny.
I never liked Coneheads. I never thought that was funny.
Like the King Tut. The Steve Martin bit. My dad loves that. Actually, I'm like, did I just not get it? I
do kind of like that. I like Steve Martin a lot. His movements. Yeah.
I don't get it. It doesn't click. Sorry.
So I love old stuff. I'll watch like an old Johnny Carson. Like I like respecting what came before.
Sure.
Like Gilda Radner, like she was such a talent. Chevy Chase, when he burst onto the scene, was a big talent.
Chevy Chase.
I hate him too, but Chevy Chase like 75 to 88 or whatever, like the guy made a lot of good stuff. I don't like him either, but I
You
get
hear
what you
about
mean.
the stuff he did on the set of Community, and you just like, mm-mm.
Oh, I agree. And by then he was an old man, but that's no
I do like
excuse.
that Jim Henson was in this, and that was the one part that intrigued me. When he's like, "They hung Big Bird by his neck outside my dressing room." I was like,
Yeah. So that's the thing. The trailer is interesting because and Jason Reitman he has been he grew up around all of this in entertainment. He probably wants to make sure he got it right. I'm
mhm,
sure Lorne Michaels was heavily, making sure everything was done the right way. So you have to assume we're going to get at least a reasonable telling of what happened. So I'm interested in seeing it because Saturday Night Live as an entity just interests me because one, the consistency. You and I love consistency. We do it with our
mhm,
podcast. We like being reliable for people. SNL is so reliable. It has always been there. Uh it's 40, 50 years or whatever.
mhm.
So to see how it started.
50's coming up, I think.
y- Oh, okay. Maybe
And you know
that's
who they
pairing with
n
that.
you know who's rumored to host the 50th anniversary episode?
Tom Hanks?
Glenn Powell,
Oh, geez.
with Chappell Roan as the musical guest.
Wow. Um, well, good for him. But
I
not
just
good
laughed
for
at
our
that because
listeners
I was
who don't
like,
like you talking about Glenn Powell. But
I'm sorry.
anyway, it looks like an interesting trailer. It looks like it might be a little too busy with too many people
Mhm.
and too many cast members. That's a problem, maybe. But
A lot of F word drops.
it looks interesting.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, any other thoughts on the SNL trailer?
No, but I'm super excited to start a new segment.
Let's do it. What is it called?
The nerd word.
The Nerd Word. Let's go.
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
All right, Lacey.
I said that
thank you.
like the nerd word?
Nerd Word. Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. Am I
Um,
on Burgundy?
First of all, thanks for
Oh,
being cool with the segment name. But
whatever
uh
makes you happy.
oh, really?
Mhm.
Welcome, Lacey, me, and everybody to our newest segment. It's our newest new segment on this new podcast where we get to feature you on the show. So for our Star Wars listeners who know TRB, sort of in the spirit of Resistance Transmissions, we pitch something to you.
A
You give us
situation.
a situation, and you give us your thoughts. I think the difference with Nerdy and Nice is going to be more giving them an opportunity to express their passions and their opinions about all of this stuff. So this
Mhm.
first one is um, for our Nerd Word listeners, what is the best movie with the worst sequels?
Mm.
So, Lacey, do you have a standout in your mind where you're like, oh, they really just ruined that?
I'm gonna be honest, I think we just did this on Patreon, so it's kind of fresh in my head. Transformers.
I think you did say Transformers. I think I said Jaws or
Transformers, but
JP, Jurassic
transform
Park.
people have a lot of good ones, but I think Transformers is the biggest one. I loved the first movie with Shia LaBeouf.
All right, yeah, I like that too. All right, let's dig into it. The best movie with the worst sequels. We're gonna kick it off here with Mike Lovins at Mike Lovins. First of all, Mike, way to get your handle. Um, Mike, Mike, if we live closer, we'd probably be buddies. Or if we went to high school together, we'd be buddies. We like the same type of music and similar
We
opinions
haven't
of
said
movies.
that in a while. Way to get your handle.
Way to get your handle.
It's been so long, Mike. Go ahead.
Back. Mike said Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which we just talked about earlier. He said
Mm.
everything after that left much to be desired. And you are right. So, Mike, hopefully James Cameron's making that third one. Next up, we have Kate at Kate Escapes. And Kate said, I've been craving cold weather. So, as one does in August, I've been watching Christmas movies.
Kate, Hello,
Kate and
welcome.
Lacey need to align here.
Sync up.
So Kate said, "The Santa Claus, holiday joy at its finest. The Santa Claus 2, no."
No.
So not even Santa Claus 3 with like Martin Short as Jack Frost. She just like
No.
2 ended it. And then they made a show recently for Disney Plus, which I guess people didn't
Yeah.
love that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good pick. I didn't know that anybody would pick that, but very good, Kate. Thank you. Next up we have LC Webbs at LC Webbs. Hug, kiss, or kiss, hug. I always forget which XOXO is.
Kisses X.
All right. LC Webbs XOXO kiss hug said The Crow, and it is not close. So I will agree with that. They're also making that remake of The Crow, which I have no interest in. But
Are you gonna watch it all or no? I feel like you're going to.
I'm not going to go to the theater to see it. That's what you're
You
asking.
look pained to admit that. You're like, "Ugh."
No, I mean, like Brandon Lee, like all that happened with that, and like that movie came out when I was like starting to like try to
Be
like be
edgy.
cool and like I was
I've
11.
never been edgy ever.
I was 10 or 11, so you've been edgy, please.
I have not been edgy ever. Never, ever,
Alright.
ever.
All right.
When have I ever been edgy?
I feel like you've had some stories where like it felt edgy.
I was
Alright.
never cool, never edgy ever. Which
Alright.
reminds me, an awesome movie with a worse sequel, Legally Blonde.
Well, they're making a third, so maybe they can.
I don't know, maybe
fix
they can
it.
bring him back. Bring him back.
But yeah, so The Crow, not even close. But the funny thing about, and this is my theory, when people say they say something and then they say, and it's not even close, it probably is close, because I think people say that to fortify their argument. That's my theory. It's no offense to LC Webbs here, but The Crow is a good pick. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Next up, Nikki Sweatpants at M_Nick89. Nikki said, probably Jaws. I don't mind Jaws 2, but 3 and Revenge were pretty awful. And you are correct.
I just see him being like, in his sweatpants, just being like, I hate Jaws.
He has like the Jaws 1 sweatpants. And he just, yeah.
Never taking these off.
It has
These
like a bite
babies are
out of the
cooking.
leg. Yeah. Jaws is probably my pick, I would say, too. And a lot of people pick Jaws. So if for any that a lot of people picked, I'll mention it, but we couldn't do like repeats because then people be like, all right, I get it. You hate Jaws 3. But next up, we have Andrew Haley at Andrew Haley 05, and he said The Matrix. Honorable mention Transformers. There you go, Lacey. All right.
You and me, Andrew.
I agree with The Matrix. I know some people like the first 2 sequels. That was such a great movie, and I think people yearn for like what could have been. You know, like there's cool moments in the second 2, but
right. But what happened is what they wanted to happen. It was the same creators, same everything. It's
right.
like it's like saying, "Oh, I didn't want Attack of the Clones to happen because it's not the same." It is.
That's
the
a
same. It's
fair
from the
point.
same
Absolutely. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're right. But yeah, a lot of people didn't love what came after. Next up, Gary, Sneaky Zebra at Sneaky Zebra, just getting that handle. What's up, buddy? Thanks for dipping into nerdy and nice here. He said Men in Black and Speed.
2 great answers.
Were all the Men in Black sequels crap?
They were not good. I didn't see the newest one.
Do you remember there was a rumor, and I think more than a rumor, that they were going to cross over Men in Black with 21 Jump Street?
I think so. I feel like I heard that.
That's bananas.
That is bananas. Speed is a good answer. The boat one?
Speed
Isn't
2
it the
was
boat
so
one?
bad. Didn't I tell you like I watched it like not
Is that
like
Keanu Reeves again?
No, Jason Patrick. But it's Sandy Bullock still, and Willem Dafoe hijacks their cruise ship.
Oh my god.
Anyway. Maddie
Imagine
Gunner.
pitching that. They're like, okay. This movie opens up.
Like
Then,
Keanu Reeves is just like,
nah,
he's like,
I'm
guys,
good.
I'm a nice guy, and I'll do Bill and Ted 3. I am not doing Speed 2 Cruise Control.
He's like, nah, dog. See you
Yeah.
later.
Next up, Maddie Gunner at Maddie Mourner. What's up, brother? And Maddie said Resident Evil. Now, I've only seen the first Resident Evil with like Michelle Rodriguez and oh god, why can't I think of her name from Fifth Element? She's the lead. Oh, it's gonna annoy the hell out of me.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. It's that model girl, right? That like made the transition.
Mia Jovovich.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Mila?
have
Is
you
it Mila?
Mia? Mila?
I thought
Mia.
it was Mila.
Mila. I think you're right. Mila. Did I say Mia?
What just happened?
Yeah. I don't know. Mila Jovovich. I think that's it. You're right.
Yeah.
I will assume that you have not watched Resident Evil movies.
I've seen bits and pieces of them,
Okay.
but I haven't
These-
seen, I think, the whole thing. I've
There's
seen.
only one scene that is burned in my brain.
Are
When the
you about to
grid-
say it?
when the grid like turns into basically a chain link fence, the guy's like trying to avoid it, and it just like turns him into 50 cubes of flesh. It's like a laser grid.
That sounds gross.
Yeah, it's Resident Evil. It's crazy. But good pick, I guess, because I don't think the sequels did all that great. Next up, Mike Rumore. Hey, brother, at Drum Jedi, and Mike said, for my entry in the nerd word, I couldn't decide between Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, and Wonder Woman 84. So in other words, he's saying Blair Witch Project and the first Wonder Woman. Good pick. Wonder Woman 84 was not good. And I didn't see the Blair Witch sequels, so I don't even know. I don't even think they were even. I think the second one was made almost like a regular movie. Bad. Last but not least, Jeffrey Kahn at the King Khan. He was from Schmodown. What's up, dude? He's such a nice guy, funny guy too. Jeffrey said Jurassic Park. Of course.
Great answer.
You and I roast the Jurassic Park movies all the time, the
Yeah.
sequels. So great answer. But thank you, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed the nerd word. Lacey, did you enjoy the nerd word?
I did. People had really good answers. I
Good,
always
yeah.
get like if you throw this like question at me, I won't come up with something, but then hours from now I'll be like, "Oh my god, that was the
Yes.
one."
Me too. Yeah.
So let us
there's
know on
always some-
social if you thought of one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll tag everyone who participated to let you know that you got on the show. And if you like the segment, let us know. We're probably going to bring it around again and maybe expand it out to some other platforms to get more people involved. But thank you to everybody for participating. That's really cool. We weren't able to feature everybody in the show, but Lacey, I didn't know because we don't have the hugest following on social media yet with Nerdy and Nice. So I was like, oh, we're going to get 3 responses, maybe 2, maybe we won't be able to do the segment. And we weren't able to use them all. So thank you to everybody
That's so
for
awesome.
chiming in. We really appreciate it. And we hope you enjoy the podcast. So thank you. But Lacey, that is it. So we're at the end of the show. So thank you to a long
Do you want to
show,
go back and talk about James Cameron again?
we probably should. Probably should. What other things about James Cameron did you want to get into today?
Oh, nothing.
How about some Titanic stuff? Some more Titanic stuff.
No, I'm good.
How would you raise the Titanic if you could?
All right, guys. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, Lacey, we want to make sure they're following us on social at Nerdy and Nice Pod and on all audio podcast platforms, and of course the YouTube channel, like we brought up before, and of course our Star Wars podcast, the Resistance Broadcast, on social at TRB Podcasts, and the Resistance Broadcast on all audio platforms, and our YouTube channel as well. Thank you to anyone who supports us on Patreon, because this show probably wouldn't be able to happen, and a lot of things we do wouldn't be able to happen because it's just me and Gilly, and we have full-time jobs. We have multiple kids each. We have spouses. We have other things going on in our lives. Bills, a lot of stuff, and just like life. And in order for us to do this stuff, we need support. So it means a lot. So thank you to everybody who supports us. who continues to support us. And a big shout out to our movie star generals and our silver screen spice runners: Carmelo, John RISI, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Danny, Mike Rumore, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, Colin Cormier, and Stephen Garrow. And the spice runners: David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and the Fort Worthian. And anyone who supports TRB, however you do, whether that's Star Wars, Nerdy Nice, both, thank you all so much, and spread the word. We appreciate it. Lacey, where can people talk to you all about the stuff we chatted about tonight?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. Also, obviously, at TRB Podcast and at Nerdy and Nice Pod, where we'll be putting up videos and questions for the show. As well as, if you have the time, please go review us on audio platforms. Leave a rating, give us your thoughts on the episodes, how we're doing. It lets other people find us. And then also just it's nice to see what people think. We appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much. And me, Johnny Hoey, and I'm gonna start trying to use Blue Sky a bit more. So X
Really
and
into the blue sky now.
I am, because X is becoming horrible.
It's unbearable. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
And I won't get any further on that. But thank you all so much. Lacey and I will be back with you next Monday for another episode right here on Nerdy and Nice. And of course, for you Star Wars fans, Thursday night, TRB Live, and on your podcast apps Friday morning. So a lot coming your way once again from us. We hope we eased you into your Monday. We hope you have a wonderful week. We know school's coming up. We know a lot of things are happening. So hope you're able to have a nice little reprieve with us here, talking movies, TV, pop culture, and all that stuff, bro. So from Lacey and I here at Nerdy Nice, until next time, we'll see you around, kids.